like to talk to you about having fun in the sun. For us and our children, that's really, really easy, providing we remember to put our hats on and our suntan lotion on. However, we need to also give thought to the welfare of our dogs in this weather. They've got thick fur coats on and they're really, really struggling. We're trying to urge people to please reconsider the time that you walk your dogs. Ideally, they should be out before 9 o'clock in the morning and after 9 o'clock in the evening. With these scorching high temperatures, it's really unfair to expect them to cope on a walk in the heat of the midday sun. Going for a walk is often the highlight of a dog's day, so when you pick the lead up, they're absolutely going to want to come with you. But they're not very good at self-regulating themselves in hot weather, and if you're taking them across the field and you're throwing a ball, your dog is going to keep running after it and bringing it back to you. He may end up taking it off into the shade and giving you a clear signal that it's too hot, but by that point it could almost be too late. So we're urging people, please think of your dogs in this hot weather. They don't want to be out and about, they need to be at home in the cool. One of the things we need to consider is just how hot the pavement gets. And a way to test that theory is by placing your hand onto the pavement with firm pressure and maintaining that pressure for 7 seconds. If you have to lift your hand off before 7 seconds, or you're really appreciating how hot that ground is within those 7 seconds, then you need to think that's what your dog's paws are in contact with. We're wearing our trainers, our flip-flops when we're out and about. The dogs don't have that option, and their feet can end up getting burnt by maintaining contact with boiling hot concrete. Whilst no dogs should be walked in the heat of the midday sun, there are some that are more at risk than others. Age needs to be taken into consideration. Exactly the same warnings that apply to human beings apply to our dogs as well. Very young puppies, difficult to regulate their internal body temperature because they're on the go all the time. And the same with older dogs who may be on medication, may be stiff with arthritis, their organs may be starting to fail. We're putting too much stress on their bodies, asking them to cope in extreme temperatures. Another thing to take into consideration is the type of coat that your dog's got. Our dogs' coats come in all different lengths and thicknesses, so if you've got a heavy coated breed, give some thought to just how uncomfortable you would feel if you were out wearing your winter coat in these conditions. There are lots of breeds that have got very short muzzles, very, very short noses. Dogs in the natural world have got very long noses, which helps cool the air as it goes down into their lungs. So when we're looking at breeds like pugs and boxers and French bulldogs who have got very, very short noses, only way dogs can cool themselves down is through panting, and yet they are not able to take this cool air down into their lungs. So these dogs need to be protected in high temperatures. You might think it's absolutely fine to walk your dog during a hot day because you're going to take them to an area where there might be large bodies of water. You also need to take into consideration that sadly blue-green algae also loves these temperatures, and if your dog were to come into contact with these blooms, then that can make them very, very ill, and unfortunately in some cases they can die. Most dogs, when they feel hot, just want to take themselves off. They want to sprawl out on a cool surface and be left alone. We need to consider the welfare and safety of young children and even some adults if they're not reading the signs that a dog is saying, "I'm hot and uncomfortable." So look out for the cases when your dog has taken himself away. He might yawn or lick his lips at the approach. That's a calming signal to show that they're anxious and they would prefer not to be petted and stroked and played with. If the children have got friends round and they're playing in the back garden and having great fun, that's absolutely the time to pop your dog into the utility room, give him a chew and just leave him in a cool area where he's not going to get overheated, because dogs can get quite grumpy in hot weather, and that can result in snapping or even a bite. Whilst we want to keep our dogs safe and not exercise them in hot temperatures, we still appreciate that they need to have fun and they need to have more mental stimulation if we're pulling back on physical exercise. There are lots of things that you can do in the comfort and shade of your own home or your garden in order to help the dogs expel mental energy. So things like feeding them from a Kong, and that can be popped in the freezer so it becomes a nice cold ice lolly. You can scatter feed in shady areas of your garden. You can get a paddling pool out and drop some treats in the paddling pool so they're almost going snorkeling and having fun. Dogs can still enjoy the weather, but they just need to be kept safe.